Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this service. Right now, I invite you to take a deep breath, allowing the great wave that is Spirit to just wash over you and cleanse you in this moment. Take another nice deep breath, breathing in cool, calming air. And as you release the breath, release all that no longer serves you. Allow your body to relax and allow your mind to be present here, now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence and opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words: I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. In visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept. Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release.
I release.
Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or a mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Grateful for the good in your life.
But in 2014, these two were coming through town and contacted Jeffrey, and we set it up. Their names were Adrienne, or still are, Adrienne Lenker and Buck Meek. You may remember them. They were only here the one Sunday. They were terrific. They played 3 or 4 songs. We gave them a little money. They sold some CDs, and off they went. Once they were out of our sight, they formed a band. Last year, that band won 2 Grammys, and this year, that band is one of the featured acts at the Glastonbury Festival, which is being headlined. If you've never heard of Glastonbury, they draw people like, I don't know, Paul McCartney, Diana Ross, Kendrick Lamar. These are the headliners, and a whole bunch of others. Big Thief is the name of this band. Check them out because they're wonderful. And they played on this stage. They played on this stage on their way up. So we're all in this room on our way up, right? And that's what today is about. Today is about successful and dynamic and constructive living as we close out a series based somewhat loosely, as our series are, on the book 30-Day Mental Diet by Willis Kinnear, who was longtime editor of Science Mind magazine. We've been going through this more or less in concert with Lent. Lent extends a little longer. I heard the reaction when Danielle said, today the diet is over. That's all a lot of us heard, wasn't it? Today the diet is over. So about, I don't know, noon or so, we can hit the buffet because the diet's over. But it's a good thing we've been on this diet. It's a mental diet because next week we start a quest together. We're going on the heroic journey. You've heard of the heroic journey? It's got certain stages to it. It shows up in literature. It shows up in esoteric work. We're going to go on this journey together. I'll take you through the first 3 weeks of it. Reverend Lisa will bring you home on the 4th week. No pressure. The third, no pressure. The 3rd week of the series will happen to be Easter, too. And we've had a lot of fun this week, musicians and I exchanging completely batty emails about suggestions for Easter music. Each one more outrageous than the last, right? But it's going to be spectacular, whatever you put together. Okay, to the mental diet, closing out the mental diet. Diets go on. What do they tell you about food diets? You don't want to gain it all back, right? This mental diet, this spiritual diet, requires consistency going forward. All he's been saying through this book, in between journaling pages and prayers and meditations and quotes from others, all he's been saying is select the thoughts, and especially the thought patterns that you wish to entertain in your life for better living. Select the thoughts and especially the thought patterns in your life that you invite into your mind in order to enjoy better living. We entertain thoughts. I've riffed on this idea for years now. The expression, to entertain a thought, right? It works out like it sounds like it would. You invite it in. You sit it down. You get it refreshments. You keep it refreshed. It sits there. You're entertaining this thought. Sometimes the thought won't leave, won't go home. The sun's going down, the sun's coming up, still the thought sits there in your mental parlor, you know, and you wish it would go, but you think, well, I have no control over this, and I don't know where this thought's going to lead or how it might break up the furniture or something if I invite it out. But you invited it in. You have the authority. You have spiritual and mental authority to release the thought and the thought pattern behind it and say, I choose to think about something else. And the easiest way to release the thought pattern is to replace it with a different thought pattern. There's a whole body of work on this. Emerson said that nature abhors a vacuum. And what he meant by that was that you can't have a nothing, whereas something was. There's got to be another something. There's never an absence, really. Never a vacuum. You got to replace it with something else. So if I'm worried about something, it's not enough to just say, no worry. I've got to replace it with hope, with a plan, with a project. Dr. Tracy Brown, who I spoke with in an interview in our Be the Change Initiative series month before last, has brought up, and this is very timely in our world now, that the absence of war is not peace in the sense of just stasis. The absence of the opposite of war is the presence of something, not the absence of something. The opposite of war is the presence of dynamic constructive activity. Just like the opposite of hate is not the absence of hate. And it's not even enough to say it's love. It's more like a dynamic constructive engagement that's not passive and sedentary. It's to engage and keep engaging and keep talking. And the opposite of neglect is not no neglect. It's cherishing. It's valuing and showing value. That's what's meant by that nature abhors a vacuum. That it's not just to stop doing what you've been doing, then sit there. It's to change what you've been doing, to transform what you've been doing into something else, into something greater. Now, I think I brought this up last week, and if I didn't, I meant to. You might not have noticed last week, I went off without my notes. And so I stood here and delivered without my notes. Talk about working without a net. But what I meant to bring up was a great spiritual teacher in New Thought named Raymond Charles Barker said famously, if you have been a good worrier, you'll make a great treater. Because the process is essentially the same. You take a body of information and you nag at it. You pick at it. You turn it over and over in your mind. That's worry. Treatment is you take a piece of information and you engage with it on a regular basis. You don't have to pick at it and prod at it, but you pick it back up. You pick it back up. Whether you're tired, whether you're not feeling right, whether you're bored, whether you're distracted, you pick up the idea again of there is one life, and that life is source, and that life is all the life there is. And you re-engage with it. And it becomes something now that occurs to you. You don't have to remember to do it. After a while, you build the habit, and treatment starts doing you. Prayer starts doing you. It becomes a loop that your mind moves to. And you're filling your consciousness with healthy, constructive ideas. Is it really just that simple? Yeah, there'll be a marked improvement in your life. Can I promise you that all your problems will instantly dissolve? No. For two reasons. One is I don't like to overpromise and underdeliver. And, you know, And the other is that we're complex beings. We have investments on many levels with things. If all our problems went away, what would we do? That's a big part of it. So we keep some things, we keep some balls in the air just to be, you know, kind of entertained and occupied. What I will promise you is that if you engage in regular spiritual practice of cleansing your mind of residual pain, and affirm and know that the one life that is the source of all life is your life right now, that you'll have a better life, you'll have a better experience of life, you'll be happier, you'll be more content, you'll also be more aware, you'll be more attuned, you know? It's like they used to say about laundry detergent, you know, whites will be whiter and colors will be brighter. Sounds will be sharper. Things will jump out at you. You'll notice more things in life. You'll wonder, you know, we trudge through life and it's like, where did the magic go? It's right here. I'm looking at glitter.
Yes, you are.
Okay? It's right here. All I have, wow. Something amazing must have happened here. A lot of amazing stuff has happened on this stage, I'm telling you. And I know what that's from. I was here for that one, you know. I mean, that is extremely cool, but what a great metaphor. There's glitter underfoot everywhere you go. Have you noticed it's springtime?
Yes.
I was in Denver in May, however long it's been now. I don't know. I lose track of time, what with one thing and another. And my hosts were saying, you see this green dust we have on everything? They were giving me the tour, you know. That's pine pollen. I went, oh, really? You don't know that we're gagging on it. 2 months before they get it, we get it, you know? And already it's out there with the rain we had, and there's all of this green stuff in these puddles, you know? And we're like, ooh, allergies. Children look at that, and they think, oh, cool. You know, fairy dust, magic, something. It's everywhere. It's everywhere around us. We just have to trust it. Do you want more of that in your life? I want more of that in my life. And what I need to remember to do is cleanse the headlines out of my head. All the news, all the things I can't control. Donald John Lewis put it very well. He said there's stuff we can control and stuff we can't. And the things that we can't control, do they bear some attention? Absolutely, because we live in a society, we live in a world. But to obsess on these things to where we don't engage with our own process, that distraction. I was reading the other day, you know what some millennials are doing? Millennials get blamed for all kinds of stuff, especially by boomers. Millennials and boomers have like this relationship back and forth. What millennials are doing that is really cool is they're going back to some, not all, but some are going back to landline phones, princess phones, and this, you know, to disengage from a news feed, to disengage from all the 1,000 apps that you have on your smartphone that make it not a phone but a thing. I suppose they could go to flip phones, you know, if they want to be mobile, but some of them are going back to the actual thing with the cord in the wall. The cord in the wall. You remember that? We had a phone in the kitchen when I was growing up. It had a cloth cord and a metal receiver. I mean, you could kill a person with this thing. I don't know. And lightning, you know, lightning hit the building and it's like you're holding this thing and there's no grounding to it, whatever. Anyway, it's a way of disengaging from all of the commentary that gets in the way of direct spiritual practice. To look within. Look around. Look at the magic of the self. And as we close out the 30-day mental diet, we also close out Women's History Month. Though it's always Women's History Month. It's always Black History Month. There's history all around us. There's history being made. And history is not just people, it's events. And history is not just distant, but recent. If it happened yesterday, now it's history, and it takes its rightful place. I love these kinds of stories of people who've done amazing things and the metaphorical value that they have. So I want to repeat one to you. I haven't told it in some time, I don't think, but I probably should keep a record of last time I told this story. Actually, I do, and the record is your faces. When the eyes roll back in your heads, oh God, that one again, then I know. So, when I was a kid, we spent summers on a little island off Massachusetts, off Cape Cod, and probably the most famous person to come from this island has a museum there, and a house she grew up in, and the second house I think that she lived in adulthood. And her dad engaged her as a little kid in learning science because he was a scientist. And so he gave her kind of a workshop and showed her how to fabricate metal and how to do all kinds of things pertinent to the day that, especially at that time, were not the province of girls at all. And one of the things that the most treasured of these devices was a telescope. So she played around with the telescope, did other things, and grew up. When she was 16, she opened a school in the town for little kids. It was the first school in New England that admitted children of color. Had a class of, I don't know, 30 or 40. It's not a highly populated island, you know. And so all the little kids are in her school. And she's teaching school, and she's playing around with scientific equipment, and well, in this town, they have on the roofs of the houses, particularly those of the higher income people, they had a thing called a widow's walk. It's got a railing around it. It's like a little balcony thing, but right perched on the top of the roof by the chimney. And the story was told that the wives of the sailing captains would get up there and look out to sea, watch the ships come and go, and ultimately waiting for himself to come home. Because, of course, you had no way to communicate. Can you imagine that? Let's pause the story there for just a moment and let's reflect back in time. Can you imagine that somebody you loved went by and went off and you had no way to communicate with them at all for months, maybe years? You had no idea if they were ever coming back? Can you imagine such a time as this? None of us were born in a time like that. Now, of course, we can track them on GPS. They can't make a move, but we don't know about it, right? Well, all of these people and women furnished with single optic unoculars, I guess, looking out to sea. Myra Mitchell turned hers upward. Spotted a comet. They named the comet after her. She became a professional astronomer, the first female professional astronomer in America. She became professor of astronomy at Vassar College. She became the first woman in the American Academy for the Advancement of Science because she looked up. She looked up, not just for news of the day, like we look on the phone. She looked up. Metaphor. You know who else had looked up before her? Everybody. All the ancients, all the ancestors looked up. They spotted comets with the naked eye. The Babylonians noticed the transit of planets out there. We squint, you know, just to see the moon. And these people, I don't know, their eyesight, like eagles, they could see all of this sort of thing. All above us. There's a whole literature on this, that our whole species has spent its time looking up unto the hills from whence cometh our help, and beyond, into the sky, the dome overhead that represents what? Our home, our legacy, our source, and its blessing, and its comfort, and its protection over us. And when the gods were angry at us, sent lightning and thunder, people cowered, you know, and it drove them back into their spiritual work. And when it was a beautiful day like today, people felt like they were being rewarded, like they were being approved of in some way. This is where we took it. Well, now we're smart all these years later. By the way, the year she opened that school to children of color, 1835. 1835. 30 years before the Civil War. Amazing. Amazing. People have been doing the right thing for a lot longer than we thought. Well, you and I have it kind of figured out now. I've got a weather app. You probably do too. It goes days and days out, and if I paid a little money to it, it'd go even further out and give me more detailed information. It asks me if I want, what is it, forget how it puts it. Do I want it broken down into the granularity? That's the word it uses in selling itself. Do I want the granularity of a 15-minute forecast? That I should know what the next 15 minutes are going to be like as opposed to the previous. No, I'm fine with hours. Most of the time you can even stretch it into days unless I have to drive somewhere distant. Then I want to know, and I like having radar on there. There's a lot I don't need to look up for anymore. There's a lot we have handled for us. But there's one thing that can't be handled for us, and that's the management of all this information. The retention and the management and the distribution of all this information that we have. For that, we are responsible because we are co-creators with that source that made all of this. It's not doing it around us or in spite of us, much less for us. It's doing it through us. And so the next time somebody needs to be reminded, is there a God in heaven? You're going to be the one to remind them. As one person put it who came here years ago, I'd never heard this expression. When they said it, everybody in the room nodded, oh yeah, yeah. I'd never heard it, and I thought it was great. He said, you are the only Bible some people will ever read. Isn't that great? Well, you're the only science mind textbook some people are ever going to read. Because we've got a cumbersome body of literature. We got shelves. We got a whole bookstore over here, which I hope you'll visit. But we've got a literature that's weighty and massive and all the rest of this. And a lot of people aren't going to have time for it, or they're just not into that, so they're going to look at you and see, does this person have what I want? Is this person living in a way that I can respect and emulate? And emulate. So the work of the 30-day mental diet is never really finished, but we're going to take a break now. We're going to go into the place of creating a quest that actually is sort of, well, it's kind of coming to get us. The best quests do. You know, it's not like making a list of stuff at the supermarket, and then you have the list, and you know you have the list, and then you go to the store, and you know you're going to the store, and so forth. No, this is more like now we're sitting at home, relaxing, feet up, having a snack, because the diet's over, feeling very content and comfortable, but are we? when there comes a knock at the door, and that knock, from me, verbally, to you, will come at the appointed hour next Sunday. A knock at the door saying it's time to go. So in the week to come, what I encourage you to do, first of all, take advantage of the Thursday night, what did we decide it was, 6:15? 6:15, the 6:15 book study with practitioner Sharon Minery. As it concludes this book, and I don't know, she may want to continue it longer, and that's up to her. But let the main takeaway, though, be this. Every thought brings companions. Every thought brings a pattern of thought, in theory anyway. The first thought is an advanced scout. And if it looks like you're going to let it in, it turns around and whistles to all its, I can never do that, you can do that. And it whistles to all its friends, and then they come in, and pretty soon they occupy the place. Okay? So be judicious about, do I really want to go there? You've heard people say, don't go there. Do I really want to go there? Do I really want to go down that kind of rabbit hole in my thinking, in my process, about fear and doubt, congestion, misery, and future prospects of same? Or do I want to remember my source and select thoughts that are healthy, wholesome, positive, life-affirming, and kind? And there's an immediate response, an immediate reaction in the body when I select those better, higher order of thoughts. I feel better instantly. Stress just drains off, you know. And right away, I know metabolically I've done something good for myself. That's an assignment for each of us, to select these ideas that are wholesome and life-affirming for ourselves. And they will call their friends, and their friends will start to work on our bodies, and their friends will start to either retard or reverse altogether the aging process. Look at me, I'm 312. They will improve our digestion. They will cause us to look down and see glitter. They will cause us to look up and see stars. They will cause us to do all sorts of amazing things, these new orders of thought that we've invited in. All right, let's know together. Now, there is one life, one power, one presence. All there needs to be, one unitary, unifying wholeness. We may call this one God, or any name we like, or any name will be sufficient for this one. Because there is one, each one of us is one with it. Because there's one divine activity, each one of us is participating in that. Each one of us, by the speaking of our word, is shaping creation, framing a new tomorrow, into which we will then walk. So I affirm and know for each one of us confidence in this venture. I affirm and know trust in the process. I affirm and know lightness and magic in the heart. And for these knowings and their manifestation in form, everywhere we turn, I have a heart big with gratitude. I release this knowing now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is.
As we come to giving time and our ushers make their way to the back, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here and ask, is there anyone here for the first time today? Please raise your hand if this is your first time with us. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Please make sure you stay for a little bit. We're going to have a gift for you. If you are here for the first time online, please also let us know that. All you have to do is put it in chat, or you can message us on Facebook Messenger or email us at info@creativelife.org. So welcome. Welcome everyone once again. We hope you all will return. And I ask you to say now with me, divine love, thrill me, blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
All right. I guess we will close this up and send you out into the world. No, I know what I'm thinking about right now. I had the honor and the privilege of watching my friend Reverend Anna's ordination, and I'm just going to put it out to you straight up. I'm now terrified after seeing hers. So I encourage you to come, because it'll be interesting. It was, I've never seen anything like that before, and hope to see many, many, many more, including David's soon. So.
When is yours again?
Oh, May 27th at 7:30 right here. So, yeah. All right. Okay. I'm gonna stop and close you out. I am going to tell you one thing really quickly, though. So just for the information that it's worth, I'm prone to nightmares. Okay? The interesting thing about being prone to nightmares is I am also what you like to call a lucid dreamer, meaning I know that I'm dreaming. And so when I start into a dream and I realize that it's headed down that direction and it's easily going to become a nightmare, you know what I do? Choose another path. Same thing, that's what Jesse was talking about today, about choosing another thought. If I can do it in my dreaming life, why can I not do it in my waking life? So I encourage you to, when you see your thoughts headed down that nightmare path, choose another thought. And if it is hard for you to choose another thought, call someone and let them help you choose another thought. Because we don't walk this path alone, ever. So in that knowing, let's know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And as I know that I am a part of this life, that I live this life, I'm a part of this presence flows through me, this love flows through me, so too do I know it about each and every one of you. And so what I know for you now is that you are at choice. That as your thoughts come in, that love stands at the door. And it greets that thought. And it checks that thought. And if that thought is not acceptable to love, then love ushers that thought on. Love is the ultimate guardian because it will let in that which is good for us, even if sometimes we question it. Because there is one love. It is divine love. And that is the love that flows through each and every one of us. So I encourage you to choose love. I encourage you to let love guard and guide your thoughts. Divine love is always the choice. And you are made from divine love. And so in knowing that you know divine love as I know divine love, I am grateful for this place. I am grateful for this teaching. I am grateful for these people. I am grateful for our senior minister, our musicians, our tech team, our practitioners. And I am just grateful for spring. And I release my love, my knowing, my heart into that divine love. And know that it is so. And so it is.
So it is.
And I
Say it with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use
and
it.
I love it.
And I love it.
So it is.
And so it is.
All right.
I was like, oh, we're going slow today.
Oh, slow-mo, slow-mo.